I learned the definition of syndicated organized crime right there on the spot, and the principle of operation. The principle of operation was anything that was a cost and an expense, they left under the budgetary basis, and the public footed 100% of the bill for 100% of the services. Anything that was a profit center had the ability of being a profit center, large investment fund that generated substantial revenue, totally restricted by statute for no tie or inclusion whatsoever with a budgetary basis. And in New Jersey's case, they were bringing in $69 billion a year over what they were bringing in on the budgetary basis through taxation, fines, and fees.
And for the lay person out there, boil that down for them. The difference between the budget and the real set of books, the comprehensive annual financial reports.
Well, up until this point, and making this discovery, I always heard budget report. We have a shortfall of budgetary revenue. We have to increase taxes. Our budget is, for the school, for the police. We have to increase taxes. And the budget report is strictly the annual operating costs for that year. What they're bringing in, what they're supposed to be spending. It does not mention the total investments. It doesn't mention the total income, and it doesn't mention the total net worth. Just as yourself, Alex, if you're making $100,000 a year and your budget for operating your house was $30,000 a year, you could audit your $30,000 budget 100 times over, account for every nickel, dime, and penny. If you spent $29,000 this year on your budget, you'd have a $1,000 surplus. If you spent $31,000 on your budget for operating your house, you'd have a $1,000 deficit under your budget.
And there's no discussion of the other $70,000.
Correct. And also no discussion of your $1.5 million net worth that you've been building up over the decades. Never a mention. There are 3 words that a politician or the news media will not mention. Basic words or expressions. The first one is, what is the total income? Gross receipts. Number 2, what are the total investments? Number 3, what is the net worth? And there's actually a 4th, which is very important. What is the growth? What has the growth been in 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 25 years? Arizona is a good example. If you look at the 1984 Comprehensive Annual Financial Report, the state's service budget is $1.8 billion, and it shows total gross receipts of $2.1 billion, about a $300 million difference. 15 years later, going into the year 2000, a service budget reaching $14 billion, and total gross receipts of $22 billion. So in the course of 15 years, a 1,000% increase in the revenue taken from the populace. That type of increase is unjustifiable by any means in a free society if it wishes to remain free. And the sound bites are thrown out to the populace, always. We have a shortfall of revenue for our school district. Look, crime, the little old lady's home, whatever. The politicians are using whatever sound bites they can throw out. They keep the public from looking at basic comprehension. What are the total cash gross receipts? All. What are the total investments? What's the total net worth? Never mentioned, never discussed. They always refer to the budgetary basis, as they, excuse my French, laugh their butts off all the way down to the bank every single day. We've allowed the vault door to stay wide open for the last 50 years. And by leaving the vault door open, in fact, with most people saying, vault? What vault? Those sharp little crackers, the ones running this show, okay, on composite government wealth in the upper echelon, you're not dealing with the Joe Six-Pack crowd betting $5 on Dallas. These are some of the sharpest crackers on the face of the planet who are quite ruthless, that have worked diligently to build their little empires within composite government and by use of the investment funds. And they know exactly what they're doing. They knew that they needed the cooperation of the syndicated media and education. The Comprehensive Annual Financial Report was created in 1946.
Same year as the United Nations by the same people.
Correct. It was a plan, an implemented plan to take over the wealth.
And it's not a conspiracy. It's right here in Texas for 99 and 98, $435 billion surplus right there in it. on page 6, but they were telling us that we had to increase taxes for the children. My point is, look at all the things they've done. The homes they've stolen, Walter, in the name of property taxes from old people that couldn't pay. The families that have been wrecked.
Do a reality check,
well,
Alex.
People busting down doors, raiding people's houses who supposedly haven't paid taxes, bank accounts being seized. All of this in the name of we got to run the government. We got a deficit on our budget. Meanwhile, you have this $60+ trillion today with state, federal, and local monies. And earlier on the radio today, we talked about how if we took that money, invested it with even a small rate of return of 4 or 5%, we could phase out all forced taxation within 3 years. And that's real math, real numbers. Instead, they're buying up everything. They're taking control. The big question is, Walter, where are they putting all of this money? The states, the counties, the water districts, the school districts, the feds. Where are they investing all this so-called surplus money?
The list is too long to go through. And the
example of Xerox
no
Corporation.
Looking, no one's seeing, so they have carte blanche to do what they want.
The example of Xerox Corporation.
I'm going to repeat a conversation I had with a heavyweight from California about 2 weeks ago. I briefed him on the aspect of setting up an annuity pension fund for the resident property owners and taxpayers, by which the surplus revenues are deposited into this account. Venture and enterprise projects, which the government owns, which no way they should own, like golf courses or real estate venture projects, are sold back into the private sector, and that money is consolidated into the annuity pension fund. And where overgrowth took place, downsizing where appropriate. I gave the example of Arizona and their growth. All three areas create a phenomenal amount of revenue. And that annuity pension fund is written in stone, having the set principle of operation of supplementing that city or county's budgetary basis until canceled. In other words, you can phase out all forced taxation. And in fact, with good, prudent financial management, you'll have a surplus occur where you can issue a dividend return back to the resident property owners on top of no taxation. Now, the heavyweight said to me, he goes, Walter, that is perfect. That's what should have been done a long time ago, but it's such a massive structure. How do you ever possibly plan on implementing such a structure? My response to him was, I said, it's already been done. I said, composite government pension funds are standing at $28 trillion. They generated $4.3 trillion last year. Total taxation in this country, federal, $1.8 trillion. Take all local taxation, about $1.6 trillion. You're standing right now at about $3.5 trillion in total forced taxation in the entire country. The government pension funds generated substantially more than all taxation in this country. Through administrative action, you can establish the exact same program for elimination of all taxation in this country and implement it within 3 years, and in most cases phase out all forced taxation in this country.
Now, Walter, the point I made on the radio today is people are addicted to their paltry little government paychecks, to the chicken feed we're given, the money they're using to break up the families. Can't have a man in the home. If you don't have a man in the home, we'll pay you. We'll put you in a nice slum. We'll ship in drugs so we can put your sons and daughters in prison. This police state system, people want their chicken feed. They want it. Even at the current numbers with a $60 trillion surplus with state, local, and federal governments telling us they're actually running deficits when their own documents that they circulate amongst themselves brag that they basically rule the entire country and own almost everything, we have to make the point to people that even if nothing was downsized, even if things were expanded for inflation, that if this money was invested even at a low yield return, we could phase out all forced taxation in 3 years. Now, if you sold off the golf courses and the hotels and the motels and made the government dump these stocks and the rest of it, then what you would have is enough money, like they do in Alaska. Last year, people in Alaska got $3,000 apiece from the government.